Hello, Antoine.
Hello, Lynn. So you found the link.
I did find it. Yes, yes. I hadn't recognized the title as that, but yes.
So we have people joining.
Will you put up a list of the speakers early on? Because what I was intending to do is to basically talk
Hello.
your role and then Michael Roth's and say that the others.
So you have the slide normally in the shared screen.
Right here, yes. Okay, good. And so that will be there. Okay, excellent. What I'd like to do at the very beginning is just a few words of welcome. Say we'll turn to you and we'll turn to Michael Roth, give short introductions there, but then introduce the other speakers later in the conference so we don't lose too much time up front on that.
Very good. So I saw that Mr. Roth tried to connect before, but
Putain, j'espère que ça a marché. Ah, mais non, je peux le voir. Julie, franchement, oh, ça marche plus.
hello, Emily, welcome.
Thank you, Antoine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. maybe already a warning or a reminder. We are streaming the conference on YouTube. So if some of you don't want to be seen on YouTube, it's time to cut your camera and change your name.
It's a very useful reminder, Antoine.
Hello.
Hello, welcome with us.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, good afternoon,
Yeah.
Good evening.
and good
This is
evening.
fresh certification.
It's actually good evening from my side. It's already 5 p.m. Uganda.
Yeah. And Antoine, just let me know when you think we should start, or if we're still waiting for a few more
So,
individuals to join.
yeah, we're still waiting for, I think, Claudia Luciani from the Council of Europe. And then we can start. I think so, maybe 1-2 minutes, and then we can start. And Mr. Roth, you are here. Okay, perfect.
I can't see me, but I have to check it again. Can you see me?
Where are you?
I just
Yeah.
saw you a moment ago.
Oh my God, I can't see you.
Now, okay, now we can see you.
Really?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a small thumbnail, but it's definitely you, and it's live.
Can you take out some earrings for me, please?
Strange.
Okay, I think we can start. Lynn?
Thank you, Antoine. I'd just like to welcome everyone. And as Antoine said, remind everyone that this is in fact being recorded and live streamed on the Mission Publique YouTube channel. So if you'd prefer that you not be seen, or if that's necessary, then as Antoine said, you should turn your camera off and consider changing your name in the chat window as well. Also, just one other housekeeping, I think. Can't hear you, Lynn.
You're muted, Lynn.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, welcome everyone. And I'll just start by echoing the reminder that Antoine just gave us, which is that this is being recorded and live streamed on the Mission Publique YouTube channel. So if you prefer, or if it's necessary that you not be seen, that you consider shutting off your camera and changing your name in the window here. Two other quick housekeeping announcements. We're going to try and preserve 15-20 minutes at the end of this hour for questions and answers and engagements with the speakers. And then from 5 to 7 CEST or Berlin time, there's actually a sort of an open session with breakout rooms where you can actually meet the Mission Publiques team and engage with some of the other speakers on a more of a one-to-one basis. So really would encourage everyone to take that opportunity. This really is a unique exercise here. So with that, just a quick word of introduction of myself. I'm actually chair of the advisory board of the We the Internet effort here. I've worked with the Mission Publique team for well over 5 years. I served as president and CEO of the Internet Society for 14 years, and then was the chair of the United Nations Internet Governance Forum Multistakeholder Advisory Group, or IGF-MAG, for 4 years, from 2016 through 2019. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to really thank Germany, the Federal Foreign Office, but as well all the ministries for all their support to internet governance activities over the last few years. They, of course, were the host of last year's IGF, where we broke ground in a number of new areas with parliamentarians. We established the high-level leaders segment, significant contributions for development activities for developing countries, because it's so important that we get all voices from across the world into these activities. And I know in the internet governance community, we've been very grateful for all of Germany's support and efforts over quite some number of years now. So I just always like to make that known. What we'll do here is move quickly to Antoine, who's co-founder of Mission Publique, and he will talk a little bit about We the Internet, why it was launched, what its intent is, just by way of background and some context. And then quite quickly, we'll turn to Michael Roth, who is the Minister of State for Europe at the German Federal Foreign Office, who will give some remarks as well with respect to the specific interest Germany has in these dialogues and in various policy questions. I will then introduce the later speakers at the time, again, just so that we can get into kind of the heart of the discussion here as quickly as possible. So again, introducing Antoine. I've been really honored to be a part of this activity. For the last 20 or so years of my working life, it's been all about bringing the internet to all corners of the world and ensuring that we get as many voices and as many different voices as possible to participate in all the activities that are shaping the internet. It's so important for our economic, our social development, and it really is essential that we get the average citizen's voice in all these dialogues, and the earlier the better, so that we can all help shape the sort of online world we want, which of course obviously impacts our physical world as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Antoine. Antoine?
Yes, thank you, Lynn. Thank you for the introduction. So as you said, I'm working at Mission Publique, and Mission Publique, we are an organization based in Paris and Berlin. And our goal is to make the life of citizens better. It's our end goal. We want to achieve that by changing the way we take collective decisions. For that, we launch and deploy processes of citizens and stakeholder participation that have direct impact on policy. Citizen participation is deeply rooted in science and rests on 4 core principles. The first one is inclusion. So we want to have people on board that are non-engaged and unused to discuss and voice. So people coming from all walks of life. The second principle is information. We want to produce and organize informed discussion to give the facts, give the controversies around the topic for people to discuss. The third principle is a dialogue, a place, a moment where citizens can come together and have a peaceful discussion and exchange on agreements and disagreements. And the fourth principle is impact on policymaking. With the internet, our intention and our ambition is to bring the collective views of the citizens from all over the world in the decision-making process around key challenges related to digitalization. And these are the topics of the dialogue. First, what should we as a society do with the data we produce, and who should be in charge of that? Second, how to ensure a healthy discussion online, a strong digital public sphere. What are the most relevant tools to fight disinformation? Third topic, what do we hope and fear when it comes to artificial intelligence? Which principles should guide the decision-making on artificial intelligence? Last topic, when looking at the future, what is the internet that citizens want? And how to make sure that decisions makers take now the good decision to make that vision happen. The dialogue is happening in around 80 countries of the world. Most of them will be tomorrow. Some of them have already run the dialogue, for example, Fiji, Rwanda, or Morocco. Some of them had to postpone the dialogue due to the national circumstances, like in Armenia or in Lebanon. So we think about these partners. It is indeed the largest ever citizens' deliberation. Its results will be brought into the discussion on the future of internet at global and national level through the coalition of partners in the countries. For us, it's critical to have all stakeholders at the table when preparing such a dialogue, because it creates a higher legitimacy of the results. This is why I'd like to thank the coalition of strategic partners that have been with us since the beginning. The German government and especially the Federal Foreign Office. So thank you, Minister Roth, for your support. Google and especially Windsurf, one of the fathers of the internet, was engaged with us from the very beginning. Facebook and especially Erlingo Erlingsen and the team from Global Policy. The Council of Europe, and I see that normally Claudia is with us, so hello Claudia and thank you. The Swiss Federal Office of Communication, the Internet Society, helping us to also partner with many of the chapters in the country, the European Commission, the Web Foundation, hello Emily and thank you for being with us today, the Wikimedia Foundation, the World Economic Forum, UNESCO, and the Office of the Secretary General of the UN, and especially Fabrizio Hochschild, the UN Undersecretary. I'd like to also acknowledge, of course, that such a project relies on the fantastic energy of the coalition of national partners throughout the world. So I would like to thank them all, and many of them are here with us now. Finally, all my thoughts go to the participants who are going to take part to the dialogue or are taking part to the dialogue now and will share their views on the future of internet and the future they want for internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoine. Again, we'll have questions, a question and answer period towards the end of the hour. But right now I'd like to go to Michael Roth, who is the Minister of State for Europe in the German government, specifically the Federal Foreign Office. And as I said in some of my opening remarks, we've been very, very excited to have such great support from the German government for quite some years now. And Minister Roth is actually going to talk to us about a couple of the specific areas that are of interest to Germany. And specifically, I think I'd like to call out and recognize that one of the things Germany has done with the internet governance community has really been a strong advocate and, in fact, supporter of bringing in many voices from the developed and developing world alike in these discussions. And it really is critically important. I mean, one of the objectives I know for the German government was to broaden participation significantly. And of course, that's been a longstanding objective of folks in the internet governance community as well. So with that, Minister Roth, you have the floor. You're muted. Maybe one of the Mission Publique staff can unmute.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much. the German Federal Foreign Office is incredibly pleased to support and be part of this project, the biggest global citizens dialogue to date and on such an important topic as well. I believe it's crucial to involve citizens in policy debates on how to shape the internet. Citizens are not only consumers and recipients of this technology, but also actors and political participants. The internet is a symbol for a globally connected society. You bring in new ideas, so you should have a say in all of the questions regarding its future. The impact of the internet is already immense, even though half of humanity doesn't yet have access to it. Coming developments will certainly bring many opportunities, but also a range of challenges for governments, industry, civil society, and ultimately everyone. And the COVID-19 pandemic is only accelerating all these developments. This reflects the urgency of our discussion. This is also why one of the main topics of the German EU presidency is digital sovereignty. We believe that Europe must bolster its digital sovereignty to effectively respond to future challenges, guarantee livelihoods, and ensure the security of its citizens. Europe must rely on the strength of its broad research base, and we must strengthen our digital infrastructure and economy. But let me be very clear on one point. This can't be at the cost of our core democratic values. They also apply in the digital age. We need to stand up for our values even more when they are globally under pressure, as now with the pandemic. While the United States and China are in competition, this clear commitment to fundamental values needs to be the European way. The topic of disinformation or misinformation in the digital sphere is a particularly important aspect for us and requires a broad public dialogue between all actors and citizens. We must find ways to ensure the high quality and safety of online discussions, act against hate speech and fake news. But digital sovereignty, dear friends, also requires linking foreign policy with industry and technology policy and developing a real strategy. This means thinking about which key technologies we need to be able to provide ourselves. It also means thinking about data networks, artificial intelligence, and so many more things you will probably touch upon in your discussions. The European Commission has already put forward a range of strategies. A new European digital strategy for the next 5 years, together with a European data strategy and a white book on artificial intelligence. The European Action Plan on Democracy on how to counter disinformation is also in the pipeline. All topics, I'm sure, will come up tomorrow. I now wish all participants an interesting and fruitful exchange and look forward to the results and recommendations on how to shape our digital future together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Roth. I mean, it really is so very important. And I've participated in some of the Mission Publique activities before, and they're very innovative and very creative about engaging citizens and individuals, and the supporting materials are essential to that process as well. So like you, I very much look forward to the results of the dialogues. At this point, I don't think we have Fabrizio Hochschild-Drummond on the call from the United Nations. Antoine is shaking his head no. I will just make a mention that
he's excusing himself. He had another meeting that came in.
Okay, thank you, Antoine. Certainly Fabrizio himself has been very active in all sorts of matters of internet governance. He's participated in the last 3 internet governance forums quite deeply. He also, this past year, has been the UN Under Secretary General as a special envoy for the UN 75th anniversary. But prior to that, he was a strategic advisor in the Secretary General's office. So it's certainly a clear indication of the support Secretary General Guterres gives to internet governance, that he's actually put the senior individual in charge of the UN's response to so many of these internet governance challenges and issues. So I just take the opportunity to suggest that anyone who's interested in this topic should pay attention to the activities of the UN, specifically their digital coordination activities and a roadmap that they're putting forward as well. Excuse me. But now let me go to, I'm not sure if the next speaker is meant to be Emily Sharpe or Council of Europe, which I understand is actually Claudia Luciano, not Dan Popescu. Any preference, Antoine?
So we had said to Emily would be next. So I think Emily,
Okay.
we can have enough.
So I'd like to introduce Emily Sharpe, who's a director of policy at the Web Foundation. Of course, the World Wide Web was founded by Tim Berners-Lee, who of course has gone on to be a strong advocate for quite a number of really important policy issues, and certainly for development and access issues as well. So Emily is here to talk to us. And Emily, I think your intent was to focus on the contract for the web and the role of citizens in that specific activity. So you have the floor. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you to Antoine and the rest of the Mission Publique team for including me in this distinguished group to celebrate the launch of the Global Citizens Dialogue. We're really thrilled to be here. And I wanted to say that we really couldn't agree more with Minister Roth's emphasis on the importance of citizens' voices in the digital policy arena. We so often focus on how governments and companies shape the future of the internet. And of course, while there's no denying the massive impact that they have on how the internet is shaped and regulated, we still firmly believe that individuals, citizens from around the world can and must play a vital role in creating the web that we want. And really no one believes this more strongly than Sir Tim Berners-Lee, as Lynn mentioned, who invented the World Wide Web and is also co-founder of the Web Foundation. Sir Tim invented the web in 1989 and chose to give it away for free to the world. And he founded the Web Foundation as an advocacy organization to advance the open web as a public good and a basic right for everyone. And we carry on that work now to deliver digital equality, a world where everyone, all citizens, have the same rights and opportunities online. And more than ever, as Minister Roth alluded to, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown that the web has become a lifeline for all, and yet it's still out of reach for far too many citizens. A recent report from UNICEF found that at least 1/3 of the world's children don't have the technology they need to access remote learning. We also know that women are disproportionately affected. On average, men are 21% more likely to have access to the internet than women. And that's why we need to focus our efforts on building a digital future that is safe, that's empowering, and inclusive. And so almost 1 year ago, the Web Foundation, along with partners, launched the contract for the web as the first ever global plan of action to make our online world safe and empowering for everyone, everywhere. And the contract sets out a comprehensive set of norms defining the behavior and outcomes we need to achieve the web that we want. It outlines the roles and responsibilities of 3 important groups that have a major impact on the future of the internet: governments, companies, and of course, very importantly, citizens. The contract has 9 principles, and a full 3 of them, a third, are dedicated to citizens. The citizen clauses focus on how individuals like you and me can be creators and collaborators on the web and build strong communities that respect civil discourse and human dignity. So for example, citizens are asked to commit to respect the privacy of others by not sharing intimate images without consent, to be good bystanders and stand up for others when they're being abused or harassed online, and to participate in shaping the web and internet by telling governments and companies that they want to see laws and practices that respect their digital rights. So we want to encourage the development of a healthy, engaged, and global, truly global online community around the contract. And to do that, we have to hear the voices of citizens. So Mission Publique's Global Citizen Dialogue is a critical partner in this effort, and we applaud its wide and grassroots outreach to 77 countries around the world, if I'm correct on that last count, and of course taking place in national languages. We're looking forward to hearing constructive dialogue among citizens and to learning what people think about the most pressing issues and possible solutions to building a better internet and web. And we'll look forward to incorporating the results into the further development of the contract for the web, as we focus on taking a positive and constructive approach to building better tech policy, where citizens are empowered to be active participants in shaping the web that we want. We're in this for the long run. There's no time to waste in establishing a better web for everyone, but we also want to do it right. And so we invite everyone listening in to, of course, participate in the dialogues and also to endorse the contract for the web at contractfortheweb.org. We invite you to do it as a citizen in your individual capacity or representing your government or your organization. And that's the best way to become part of the contract community. Along with Mission Publique and other partners, we all need to work collectively to make progress towards protecting and respecting human rights in the digital era. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. This work is so very, very important, and we're always grateful for the activities of the Web Foundation and certainly Sir Tim's own, very active advocacy. Before we go to the next speaker, I just want to thank Minister Roth. I know he needs to leave in just a few minutes to step away. I'm sure the Mission Publique team would be happy to pass on any specific questions to him or to the Foreign Federal Office if there were any. And I'm also certain that any of the press probably know how to reach out to them in any case as well. But again, let me extend my sincere thanks to Minister Roth. Sorry, for all the support from your government, from all the ministries now for so many years. It's truly appreciated. And in particular, the focus on really engaging citizens' voices and all the activities to support individuals from developing countries in particular. So thank you. And I'll give you the chance to say goodbye if you'd like, or.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And special greetings to all participants. I'm so delighted that so many people are involved in such crucial issue. And you can count on us in the future. And we would like to do our very best in order to strengthen citizens' role in the digital world. And we would like to protect and strengthen the European Union as a union of common values, and democracy, rule of law is key for us. Thank you so much and a lot of success.
Thank you, Minister Roth.
Thank you.
Antoine, did you? No. Yeah, there were so many important points made with the last few speakers. Obviously getting all voices in, and that's just not all voices in terms of different diversity, whether that's cultural or geographic, but also from all the different stakeholders, as they're called, in the internet governance community. Government is obviously important. Civil society is exceedingly important, as of course is the private sector. And in internet governance terms, we add in a technical community for those organizations that are responsible for managing critical parts of the internet infrastructure. Without all those players involved, the discussions just aren't as robust as they need to be. So really appreciate the support of all the players here. I think the next speaker is Raashi Saxena, who's a national partner for the dialogue in India. India has also been very active for many years in internet governance discussions, and very, very happy to have them here and participating so robustly in this dialogue. So Raashi, you have the floor.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that I perhaps am, or rather I'm passionate about issues pertaining to the internet governance is because this is a unique opportunity to sort of share and cultivate our collective intelligence and passions. And India being such a diverse country, I mean, it's so, and the nuances, and of course, I've also mentioned that 100 citizens reflecting the opinions of the country is also hard, because you have the northeast of India, which has a massive digital divide. You have accessibility issues, infrastructural issues, and then at the same time, you have the mainland where you have stable and robust internet. So we've actually taken this pandemic as an opportunity to be able to collect different opinions, which we perhaps couldn't do if we had an offline convening in different parts of the cities. And we are proud to say that we now have our dialogues happening. We have small focus discussion groups across 15 regions in India at the moment. And we're really excited to see the results of there are people who have issues with misinformation. There's, of course, accessibility. So we've had a lot of our conversations where we don't have the luxury of having the Zoom call that I'm having with you lovely people. So we've had some of the conversations we've had are via telephonic conversations. We've had some on WhatsApp. And of course, we've also had some of those sensitive conversations on more private channels like Jitsi or the Big Blue Button. So we're really excited to see how the results are going to impact global policy.
Thank you very much, Raashi. As I said, India is such an important country in so many of these discussions. So it's really exciting to have such a robust response. The next speaker we're moving to is Nadia Al-Sakkaf. She's a national partner in Yemen and a former Minister of Communication of Yemen. And she's also been very active in various gender activities. And I know that, in fact, their team to organize the dialogues in Yemen are composed of all women. So I think that's a really exciting development. And she's going to talk to us about the national process and its value for countries. So Nadia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here, and sorry I missed some of the earlier interventions, but I would like to talk to you about the national dialogue of Yemen. And I come from a country that is really sinking in despair because of the armed conflict ongoing in the past 6 years now. And ironically, this year, not only did we have the problem of the COVID-19, we had other epidemics, like we had malaria, cholera, dengue fever, and chikungunya. Despite all this, the citizens' dialogue on the future of the internet is really a remarkable opportunity for Yemenis to celebrate the future. And we're doing it in 2 cities, not just one. We're gathering 100 citizens from all walks of life, even those who do not have access to the internet. And we're asking them about what they think about the future of communication, the future of work, the future of effective governance, and all the opportunities that the internet provides for them. With Yemen's citizens' dialogue, we are also celebrating an opportunity to overcome the gender discrimination in the digital sphere by being mindful of the barriers against women's development offline as we transition almost the entirety of our lives online. So there are gender discrimination barriers, and Yemen is known to be one of the worst countries in the world for women. So as we embark on this journey to the future, we're trying to balance out the opportunities. And the team on the ground is actually, as you said, all women. So hats off to them now. If they're listening, they are doing a remarkable thing. I believe in the future of the internet, and that the internet is the future. This is our chance to have our say as the general people in what matters to us. Even though the internet penetration in Yemen does not exceed 27%, it exponentially grows every year by at least 20%. And we know that the struggle is with the infrastructure, with the connectivity and access is something that citizens cannot deal with because we don't basically have a state right now. We rely on the different opportunities to connect to the internet. And there are some aspects of satellite internet as well, but it's very expensive. For that matter, maybe if there's anybody listening on the Starlink endeavor of Musk, maybe they can help us and experiment with Yemen. What I would like to say is that we have to be visible as Yemenis in the world. It's not enough that the news about Yemen is about the war or the starvation or the humanitarian crisis. We want to be on the world's map for something that's positive as this one. And this is a fantastic endeavor, and we are very delighted to take part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Very, very important messages. And I know the Mission Publique team and the board are very, very excited to see, the results of certainly a number of individual countries and efforts, and then also collectively and the contrast. So we're very grateful to you and all the women who actually organize these two activities. I think it'll be very, very, very informative and very useful. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know what's in my throat at the moment. Our next speaker is Claudia Luciani, who's from the Council of Europe. She is the Director of Human Dignity, Equality, and Governance, all of which I think we could use a lot more of in the world, particularly in some countries these days. So with that, Claudia, you have the floor. The Council of Europe has also been very, very central to internet governance discussions going way back to the World Summit on Information Society 1 and 2. So very happy to see that they continue to be engaged as all these discussions have evolved over time. Claudia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to just say a few words about the work of the Council of Europe. You've had mentioned, of course, our long-standing involvement to questions related to the internet. I regret a little bit that the minister left because I wanted to engage him as not only a minister, but very soon leader of the organization. Germany will take the presidency of the Council of Europe in just a few weeks. And we have a journey that we want to travel with them, notably on these questions, and I'll explain in a minute. So I just want to say, of course, Council of Europe is an intergovernmental organization founded on human rights, rule of law, and democracy. So this, what you're discussing are absolutely our core values. Now, how do we come in? And why are we so excited indeed about Mission Publique's very ambitious project that you're discussing over this series of interventions? Well, because first of all, we, as I said, you have said yourself, we have been working on those themes on internet, but not just working, we actually have produced recommendations. These are standards that bind 47 member states on questions such as the protection of human rights with regard to search engines. I'm just quoting a few recommendations on human rights for internet users, 2014. More recently, roles and responsibilities of internet intermediaries, 2018. These are recommendations that I said have been elaborated by the Council of Europe. And more recently on the human rights impact of algorithm systems. So this is a field where our concern has been to keep, of course, an internet free, but also free from dangers when it comes to our fundamental principles. Now, another theme that you have evoked, which is very much right now at the core, and where Germany and the minister and the whole country is, as you heard, very, very keen on, is artificial intelligence. This is, of course, a new technology, a brand new technology that has exciting opportunities, but it is a technology that can be extremely harmful to human rights and to democracy. So the Council of Europe is right now working on a possible convention. So we're in the business of actually seeing whether we can regulate AI. And apart from the 47 member states, we are joined by a number of observers from different parts of the world. We have Mexico, Israel. We are watched very, very closely by our friends from the US and other countries. So we are really looking into what are the red lines, what are the fundamental principles that our member states should watch and make sure they are keeping the impact, the design and impact of AI from harming the fundamental principles. This is work that is still ongoing as we speak. It's very intensive, but where the Mission Publique job becomes very interesting for us is that besides the drafting of a possible instrument, because we believe that we need regulation in this area, we're also wanting to consult on this instrument. So this is a big challenge. How do you consult with different stakeholders on such material which can be very technical, can be legally very specific, Well, this is exactly what we're trying to figure out. And we hope actually to benefit from Mission Publique's methodology and way of working, for instance, to figure out how to consult citizens. It's one thing to consult companies, and we do, they're part of our committee. It's another thing to consult academics and even NGOs, because they're structured, they have a legal personality, they can come and accede to our meeting. But how do you consult citizens? And what kind of questions? Do you ask closed questions that are machine readable and can be aggregated very easily? Do you ask open questions? Do you ask semi-open questions? So these are all the challenges we're facing in this very delicate part of our work, which, as I said, consists in trying to consult and wanting to consult very broadly different stakeholders on a future regulation of AI. So, as I said, we would like to remain very close. We are, you see the logo on our project. We would like to remain very closely associated with this exercise, because indeed we think we can learn from it. Although, as I said, the objectives are slightly different, because, as I said, we probably will need to ask specific questions about our own work. But we want to remain very closely associated. And I was happy to hear from the country experience, because that will definitely guide also our way of preparing the questions, which we're doing. A final word to say that we're also partnering with Mission Publique for our annual event, which is the World Forum for Democracy. It's a very big gathering that, because of the COVID, this year will be in a small scale visio, but we will have the big event next year in November. The question posed there is, can democracy save the environment? And we're looking for answers to that question. And there again, we will maybe probably associate some of you and some of your partners to this big event. And with that, I wish, of course, all the success and good luck. And we will stay very closely tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Let me bring up a couple of important points with respect to what we can learn about consultation and dialogue and discussion. You know, for far too long, it's been, you know, a relatively sort of one-sided process where there might be a request for comments, but that's not the same as a dialogue, as a discussion, as a debate, which allows obviously time for people to listen and time for positions to evolve. And while a lot of the conversation on this tends to focus on governments, I think we also need to find better ways to work with the private sector, because frankly, a lot of the environment we're actually living and working with is driven by the private sector. You know, I've engaged in some efforts in the past to try and get more open processes there. But I think that needs some additional attention as well. And as I said earlier, and Claudia just alluded to, Mission Publique really does have some very innovative and creative ways to pull out kind of positions and dialogue and engagement. So I'm so excited that there are so many countries, I think it is 77 now, that are participating, because not only will we actually learn something from this particular event itself, I hope we actually, you know, at some level dispel some of the fears around kind of more open consultations. And also recognize that there are so many different ways to engage individuals. I'm going to open it up for questions in a moment, but first I just wanted to ask Antoine if there's any kind of final remarks he'd make. And then I guess if you want to ask a question, perhaps just put a hands up or a note in the chat room. And if for some reason you don't have access to hands up or chat room, then just come in at a point and say you'd like to take the floor. But Antoine, let me first go to you.
Thank you very much, Lynn, and thank you to all the speakers and the diversity you have brought in that discussion. This is exactly what we look at when we start those processes. And so maybe I'd like to make only one remark. And this remark is that we are learning by doing too. And the last remark from Claudia, we need to learn from that experience. And I think that is also for us a process, which is learning and making it. But we focus really on having that ambition of scaling deliberative democracy and citizen participation. And by doing it, learning about it and learning to do it better. So it's not the end for us. It's a process which is learning each time. And we are so grateful that so many partners have taken the risk and this willingness to be with us on that, because it's a bet, and we think we will win it, but it's a bet and an experience at the same time. So just that would be my main comment.
Antoine. And I see in the chat room that Professor Sharma would like to speak. Professor Sharma.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lynn, and I really appreciate the mission Publique, which is initiated for the noble cause. And I wanted to put forward my views on 3 most important points, and what kind of the initiative is taken by the ISOC, specifically on the techno-academic tier. For example, there are 4 tiers of the users of the internet. One is technocrats, another one is judiciary, and the third one is basically politicians, and 4th one is the public. How to balance all these things? Because nowadays most of the crimes are happening over the internet. And being a professor of IT and designer of several search engines, I would like to say that when we are going to introduce or develop the different kind of tools and techniques of artificial intelligence, definitely it will try create another kind of chaos across the world. For example, employment, the efficiency, precision, accuracy, speed, and all such kind of the positive attributes will be better in machines, and human generation cannot compete the machines. So in terms of the judicious decisions by the political will and political the governance of the world, what kind of roadmaps they are going to prepare. Recently, Miss Claudia was speaking. That was very nice point here, and I want to tell that as a technocrat and professor, we have already observed that after 5 years, there will be a critical kind of challenge, not only to the human the employment, but also multilateral threats to the internet. Because nowadays people are just working not for the public, not for the noble cause. They are working for their self-interest. So in terms of judicious justice in the world, is, for example, recently COVID-19 had challenged the world, and the people, those who are poor, they cannot afford the electronic device and gadgets. So they are now away from the educational access. So what kind of initiatives governments of the world are taking here? Is still these people, the initiatives, the plan and policies launched by the different governments is inadequate. So according to our different kind of surveys and research, we are there are very critical kind of indicators which will hamper the education system of the world, especially for the children. So I would like to say there should be a very strong and logical roadmap and the task force of the ISOC who can understand and provide the advisory to the international organizations. And recently, as somebody was saying that in India, 15 state this public mission is started. So far, I'll try to connect with them, but I'm sorry to say that most of the people who are designer developers and the true stakeholders are isolated from this mission. I don't know in which direction it will go. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. Some important points there as well. Hopefully, after this global pandemic, one of the things we're really, I hope, globally getting the will to address are things like access and so many other issues of equality. Let me see, is there another request for the floor here? Is there anyone else who'd like to come in either on that last point? I see Nadia, you put a comment in the chat room, or any of the other.
Why not?
Nadia.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to compensate for not being there in the first half an hour, so maybe I'll just pitch in more. I really feel that when we move forward while designing the policies for the future and to have governance of the internet, because it seems like the entire life as we know it is going to change. And this is one of the moments, a singularity moment in our life. And I feel so anxious and privileged that I'm witnessing this. It's like it's a moment in time unlike any other moment. It's like maybe the time when they invented the internet, that was one time. And now this time when we really are going to move entirely online, it seems to me another important moment in history. So thinking about the prejudice that we're bringing from the offline to the online, thinking about the value systems. I mean, is it going to be the people who have offline are going to be the same ones who have online? So all of these questions, and as we jump on this opportunity, how are we going to the checks and balances and so on? And I told you, I come from Yemen, where there is like only 27% of the people are connected. And so because of the COVID, we realized how important it is for jobs, for access, for communication. And it's just going to be the two worlds. And I keep thinking of the Hunger Games, the series. And then I was thinking, like, there will be the people in the developed world who have that, and they will be in the towers and the advanced, and we will be District 13 in the developing world, and we will be like killing each other and fighting. So I don't know. I mean, it's sci-fi, but then we've seen Black Mirror. I'm not sure if you all have seen it. It's so close to reality that sometimes I think, ouch, it is happening. So with all this in mind, as we are stakeholders in this issue, in our positions, in our circles, I think it's very important to be mindful of those who are in a less advantaged situation. That's all. Thanks.
Nadia, that is so well said and so true. And I think, like you as well, I alternate between feeling really excited about the opportunity this is giving us to address so many things that aren't as we would want them to be, and honestly, close to despair that we are where we are in so many parts of the world. Let's hope we do actually learn and move forward. Is there another request for the floor? Just
Maybe
giving people to find the mute. Antoine?
Yes. Maybe a reaction on that. I think it is what you said, Nadia, also, and Lynn, is it's one of the key reasons why we want to have citizens on board. It's because we know that all of us are impacted by those technologies, even if we don't have access to. And the filter we have, or the way we see those technologies, is very often through media and entertainment. But it's then, for example, for artificial intelligence, we have a vision of what it could be because of the movies. And then what we need to do is to start asking us the right questions. But for that, we need some help. We need some help to understand what it is exactly about. And as we had the comment before on artificial intelligence biases, I think that's one of the key elements of the session on artificial intelligence we are going to have for the citizens. Is first starting by defining what we talk about. And then it gives some ground to the discussion, and then we can start seeing, okay, this is partly real and this is partly science fiction. And what do we want to become the reality and our preference as citizens? And I think that's exactly one of our core idea by having that dialogue, is making that connection between what we perceive and get from the technology and the policy around it, and the fact that we can be put in a position to really assess and prioritize what we want as citizens.
Antoine, that's also very well said. One of the things that really impressed me in the early days of Mission Publique was the story you tell about the climate change discussions in France, of course, where an equivalent process was held then among citizens. At the same time, I think there was a global policy meeting on climate change. And in fact, the citizens of the world, the citizens that participated all across France actually chose more kind of drastic and more impactful actions than what the policymakers were actually suggesting there. And of course, it's the citizens that actually have to enact and will live by those, just as the policymakers will. But if we are all willing to do more, then we need to make sure that that's understood across all these policy issues going forward. So I just love that story, and I'm sure you could tell it much better than I could. I'd like to give the final chance, I think, to anyone else who wants to come in or to type a question in the chat room if that's easier for you. And while you're thinking about whether or not you want to do that, again, remind everybody that in fact, Mission Publique has a kind of meet the Mission Publique team and some individual breakout rooms for the next hour or two, so that you can actually ask your questions and get some more in-depth exchanges, which Antoine will come to you in a moment to see if you want to add anything.
We have Andre has raised his hand. So I think, Andre, if you want to come in.
Excellent, I didn't see it.
Sure. Just to say a couple of words of this amazing project. I'm on board still from 2018, actually, as a national partner for Russia. And I believe that these debates, not only about the internet, actually, but the internet is the very important subject for us to promote multi-stakeholder dialogue, to promote dialogue between citizens and stakeholders, actually, but also all other issues could be raised for these kind of debates in different countries, or maybe between for people between countries. I also could propose this for the future to discuss for the citizens between countries for the issues like peace and maybe and other issues that would be interesting for people around the world. But I would like just to say best of luck for my fellow colleagues and partners all around the world, and thanks for Missions Publiques for this organization of these debates. And we will, I think, we will have a great day tomorrow. I believe that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. Nice to see you again. Antoine, there's a question from Thierry which is, how do you collaborate between countries, for example, France and Africa, with respect to sharing data and the like?
Yes, so the way we collaborate is that we have a global coalition of partners that are each in one country and implementing the dialogue in their own country. And we have a system of common training and capacity building, and a system of peer support. So the partners with another, and we with the partner, and we work together in making sure that we have the same process going on in all countries, so that indeed we can then share the data back. So we have a platform on which each partner can report back the results of the dialogue in their country and can work with that data set. So we have a common global data set, which is also accessible. We publish it at the end of the process. So anyone can take the raw data set and work with it. And in it, you have all the data from all the countries, and you can work by aggregating also by country, by region, or globally. So that is the way we share the data.
Thank you, Antoine. And you answered my question as well, which was sort of echoes of Sir Tim Berners-Lee with respect to the open data. And I think that's excellent. I mean, it's excellent because people will come to understand, the data, I think, much more directly, but it also helps with credibility, just the transparency. So are there any further questions or comments? I can't see the hands up. So Antoine or Hui, is there anybody else in the...
I see that Prof. Sharma, you had still the hand raised, or is it still or again?
Yeah, I can. I want to. This is Mission Public basically, and nowadays there are different kind of tools where data and the research surveys can be generated in artificial manners, just like Saxena. So, in order to ensure the real participation of the public, it should be transparent and certain measures should be taken into consideration. Otherwise, recently I have gone through one research paper in which, several research and surveys were conducted. Even the tool, the design, the Saxena, which was developed by, MIT, USA, this can generate such kind of the fake, surveys, and even the photographs, even the voice can also be generated. So in order to ensure the public opinion collection agented by the ISOC, data and its, the genuinity must be ensured. And one most important thing, it is public mission public, or whatever, it should be mission public. It should not be a private mission. And, such kind of the measures should be taken by the ISOC in order to ensure the everybody's, even those people who are having the deep understanding of the technology and the public views, they should be the true stakeholder in such kind of the mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. Antoine, any final comments or?
No, thank you very much to everyone. Maybe the other speaker wants to add something. Claudia, Emily, maybe you have, or Raashi, you have not spoken again.
No, I believe that this is the first time that we have such a large gathering of people where you are actually elevating individual agency. And that's so rare these days, given the different circumstances that we have. And there are so many inequities, and especially in India, where I've seen that people don't have access, and the idea of empowering them, and they feel so humbled. And I really enjoy the deep dive discussions that I have, especially with women in their 50s and 60s. It's quite enjoyable. So I look forward to really looking at helping build a more diverse and inclusive internet for the future.
Thank you very much, Raashi. And again, we're so happy to have India so deeply engaged too. Claudia, Emily, is there anyone who would like to come in for final words?
Just briefly to say, we are, of course, so glad that the results will be open sourced. And as you mentioned, Lynn, Tim is passionate about ensuring that the web, his invention, is used to help share information around the world. And it's important that it be open and transparent, as Dr. Sharma mentioned as well. We need to be able to use it. And I hope that researchers and other organizations like the Web Foundation will use it and use it to inform public policy going forward. So it's absolutely terrific that it's open sourced. And we're really grateful to Mission Publique for taking the charge, and wishing best of luck to everyone in the coming days.
Thank you, Emily. And Claudia?
Yes, just a word to say that having listened to all of you, it is clear that also for the Council of Europe, the challenge will be not only to devise the right methodology, that's already in itself quite a job, but also make sure that it is understood as being really the effort that is meant to be, that is of being inclusive and of listening to citizens' voice. The first question, of course, that occurred to us is that why do you do that if you're not then going to be able to take into account the comments, for instance, that you receive from the citizens? And that's a very, very fundamental question, because as I told you, this is about a treaty-making body. You know, we work with governments and diplomats and delegations, and how can we include the feedback from the citizens into this work? That's really very, very difficult. But we will do our best, and we will be mindful of all the different alerts that you have expressed and comments, because indeed it's absolutely pioneering work for us, for an international organization, as I said, to be consulting in this way with citizens and to be able to take their comments to account, and for all of this to be known, because that's the bottom point, that all of this should be known to the public hopefully to increase their trust in the work of institutions such as ours and many others. But thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Claudia, thank you. Those were very good closing words as well. And to build off of something that Nadia said earlier, I mean, I really do think this is a singular moment. And, you know, apart from everything we'll learn about specific policy issues and the questions that are on the table, I mean, I think my actual wish is that we take away more from this about opening up our dialogues and citizen engagement and debates and discussions, and really use this as a platform to open this up. And again, private sector, just as much as with kind of regulator or policy questions, which tend to be more in the domain of governments. I think that's critically important as well. So I think this is a tremendous effort by Mission Publique, and I know how hard you've all been working now for a few years actually on this, and particularly the last few months. So congratulations, and wish you all the very, very best for the next few days, and then of course all the hard work afterwards of pulling all this together. So Antoine, I'll turn it back to you one more time to see if there's anything else you'd like to say, and maybe perhaps to lead us to the logistics for the next section.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn. I have nothing to add. Indeed, we are staying online for interested participants, and we want to liaise and have some question. We have a question from Thierry. So maybe it's for you, Lynn. So I can give you back the floor, and then we can close that session. And for those that want to stay, we are here, and we will be able to answer more detailed questions.
Yes, thank you, Thierry, for the question. You know, the Internet Governance Forum, you know, at its outset was about bringing in voices of all stakeholders in. And I think the Internet Governance Forum has done some tremendous work over the years, but it's been frankly difficult to scale it as needed, both in terms of developing countries, people with access and those without access. And that is equally important, as the point has been made several times, that we actually hear from those individuals. But we've also, you know, frankly, lacked support from private sector and governments. The two major stakeholders have been civil society and, frankly, the technical and academic community. And while that's not a one-sided conversation, it's pretty close to a one-sided conversation. So, you know, we really encourage broad participation. And we do need to come to grips with how do we reach kind of the farthest corners of the world, and how do we reach those that don't have internet access? And an effort like this one helps to do that, because in fact, it's a national event with national partners. The Internet Governance Forum does have over 115 national, regional youth IGF initiatives, which also have the benefit of being very national activities, very local activities, so they can reach individuals that don't necessarily participate in these sorts of forums, or frankly, in some cases, have internet access as well. But we need to do much, much more than that. And some of my comments earlier about the United Nations roadmap and the digital cooperation effort, it is critically important that we all keep active in that and keep our voices in, because I have to say I have a small concern. I don't have a role at this point in the United Nations or in any other institution in terms of a formal speaking role. But I do hope that we continue to lean into multi-stakeholderism and pulling all voices in, and not revert back to a more multilateral set of instruments. And I have to say, I do have that slight concern. And the only way that won't happen is if we get people from across the globe, from across different industries and different stakeholders, to actively participate at a national level at things like the National Regional IGF initiatives, the Internet Governance Forum, the United Nations activities. Much of this information is at a minimum streamed, but then you can, in fact, send in your comments or comments afterwards. But a lot of them actually are leaning much more into participation too. So it's hopefully, you know, one of the brighter sides, if I can even say that, of this pandemic is that more people are leaning into streaming and online conferencing, and it's really becoming more the norm than perhaps it was before. And people are really actively trying to reach out and pull those voices in. But no, we need to pull in citizens' voices in every element here in terms of internet reform and regulation.
Then I can say thank you, Lynn, for the answer. Yeah, nothing to add. I think I would say we can go over to a more bilateral way for those who want, and organize breakout rooms if you want, and we are here. And thank you again for everyone. And for those that are preparing tomorrow, good luck. We are also preparing for tomorrow in Germany, Berlin. So good luck to us too. And thank you for having been there today.
Stay safe, everyone. Take care. Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Good luck for tomorrow.
Luciani.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
So the way we have imagined it now is if some of you want to talk with us or with someone from us, you can just put it in the chat, and we can then organize a breakout room to be in a bilateral discussion. Otherwise, you are free to contact us for organizing something after. And so it's up to you. We're here at your disposition. I don't know, Raashi and Aileen, what are your time at the moment? So what you availability or some other? I mean, it's.
I probably have another 5 to 10 minutes, and not more than that.
Okay, so if someone wants to talk with Raashi about the experience in India, it's a moment to do it. And you can put it in the chat, and we can send you. Yeah, otherwise, any more question? Lucien, I think, well. Yes.
I think I would like to have the dialogue with Ms. Raashi later on, because I want to advise something to her related to the mission Publique in India specifically, so that it can be a grand success for mission. And the people who are the real stakeholders should participate and put forward their views. Thank you. Thank you.
So for that, I think the best is you connect both of you, and then we.
Yeah. Thank you.
Aileen, yes.
One thing to highlight is that a lot of us I mean, I think Eileen would go ahead and explain that better. Eileen,
Yes,
go
so
ahead.
Aileen, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Antoine. Hello, everyone. So I was thinking, since we have great insights of the experience in India, I want to ask you, Raashi, how do you feel when you decide, okay, I want to jump in this adventure to organize a global citizens dialogue? I'm a young person, and I you know, both of us have some experience on intergovernance, but maybe this is what a bit of getting out of the comfort box. And yeah, how do you feel about that?
I feel great. I feel great because I have people like you who I can rely on to brainstorm ideas and kind of share different perspectives. And I really enjoyed every moment of the conversations that we've been having on building a good program, and building a program that is holistic and that actually caters to everyone's needs, and I'm glad that we're able to contextualize things and create content that is the easily digestible. And like we were having a conversation yesterday on how do we explain artificial intelligence to a farmer or to somebody who has no idea and has and does not need to really rely on the internet for the work that they do. And at the same time, you have people and certainly with the pandemic, you've also seen that the internet is also a great economic opportunity for people. So I do enjoy the discussions that we have about how we can include everyone. So I'm very grateful for the support.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raashi. On my side, I have to say, I really enjoy our conversations. We are like almost all the time discussing about the different things that we can do and how to improve, of course, because this is a learning process the whole time. And it is very interesting also to see that we have similar experiences when we want to reach to rural communities, or we have people who are unconnected and they are giving their first steps in internet, because with all of the pandemic, we have a lot of more users in internet, so they have to learn how to use the skills, the software and everything. And that's why it's really important that we can have this global conversation to discuss these topics about artificial intelligence, digital identity, privacy, and more.
No, for sure. I also believe that this is a good step because this is the first time that we have so many countries coming in together. And I see us building a sort of a legacy and a community of our own to be able to exchange these ideas and carry on and strengthen the documents that we have. And perhaps, go to greater heights, because like you said, there are so many similarities, especially when it comes to accessibility issues and digital literacy issues of women. And you and I have had several in-depth conversations about how digital literacy is missing and how, because of the pandemic, you perhaps had a projection of 10 years as to how you want to get to a more digitized world, but now you're kind of forced into it. And it's important to analyze and look at these disparities and sort of reset the conversation. So I believe that it's amazing how we've also all come together as a community, and we can all go together and build stronger foundations with it. And I do believe that youth has a very important role, and I'm very glad that we have a lot of young people like you and I who can sort of anchor the conversations, and of course give everyone the opportunity to be able to share their voices.
Maybe on that, if I may jump in, Raashi, I think for us as a team, it has also been a huge learning process in the past month. And one of the main, I remember one of the main discussion with you, all the partners, and between us was the fact to know if we would open for online consultations. So going from purely face-to-face to part online, and what that would mean in terms of quality, in terms of what to change in the process. And we had a very long discussion, and at the end we decided to go for it, which was at the same time very exciting and new and many things, but at the same time very stressful for many of you, many of us, in understanding what do we need to do differently when we do it. So Eileen, when you were saying, okay, how do we talk about the internet on internet with people that have no internet? So that's a real big question, and we were very inspired by many of the work all of the partners through the world are doing on that. So that's also very learning.
Mr. Antonio, I want to share one thing here. Still, the artificial intelligence is a infancy item for the people, isn't it? And they're not watching the 180-degree behind the artificial intelligence. We can visualize only 180-degree front, but the artificial intelligence is having 360-degree, where 180-degree, which is behind the scene, is very much critical, dangerous, and amazing. And if it will continue with this speed, shape, and size, being an international consultant of ILO, I can understand this will be the biggest critical challenge of the world, not only to the employment, even to normal well-being. Because nowadays, whether it is robot or robotic system, whether it is artificial intelligence oriented mechanical systems, or each and everything is going to be automated. And after a certain period of time, writing, speaking, all this will be useless. For example, I am giving you an example of Foxconn, China. One company, 65,000 people were thrown out from the company one evening, replaced by 600 robots. And after a certain period of time, means approximately 6 months, the productivity rate of that company increased by 200%. And the defect rates 78% down. Companies are working only for the profit, not for the welfare. It should be understood, by each and everybody. In such case, United Nations, ILO, UNDP, and ISO also should start such a mission. And as far as the India's mission public is concerned, my question goes to Ms. Raashi. I contacted Ms. Raashi many times and requested that I want to have the dialogue and associate my PhD scholars so that they can contribute. But every time I was isolated, I am very much disappointed in a transparent manner. I'm sharing here with this. And this is unfortunate. That's why I shared my views that this is mission public and it should be public. And
so
it should.
But the very point. So thank you for the remarks. I think two reactions on my side. The first one is for artificial intelligence, and I think you're right to say it is important to talk about it and to talk about it 360. And the reason for that is that we know that the decisions are taken now, and if we wait too long, some decisions will have been taken with a path that will be difficult to come back. So this is why artificial intelligence is one of the topic of the dialogue. And this is why we also give that information to citizens and participants, because they need to understand that artificial intelligence is at the same time much more and much less than what they are seeing in the movies. So this is why we want to give them the keys. The second point is on the participation. It is clear for us that we need to reach out, and we want to reach out to people that are normally non-engaged and non-interested a priori in the topic. And I think this may also explain why in the recruitment process in India, the PhD students that are already engaged and already in the process of learning and more, let's say, knowledgeable about the topic are not our main target group for that kind of discussion. And this is why we like to separate between what we call the stakeholders dialogue, where we have people that are engaged, that are interested, and that are putting their voice for themselves, and the people that are non-active. And this is our target group with the citizens dialogue. And this is what we want to do with that. So I think it may explain also the difference and the process we have. We don't know, of course, we don't want to exclude them, stakeholders and people that are more knowledgeable, but we know that they already have they have channels and means to take part of the discussion. And that's what we want to acknowledge and do differently.
Well, I appreciate your response, really nice. But these scholars, they are having very big network. They are doing the research on the survival, control, and management and governance as well of the internet. Their topics are related to that. And they can do better analysis, better inputs, and better frameworks design for the success of this mission public. That's why I wanted to connect them as a voluntary, supporter to the mission. But unfortunately, it's not a big issue, but such kind of the things must be taken into consideration judiciously so that, the ultimately mission, because neither those nor myself is looking for any sort of benefit. We are just working for a mission. Even under the United Nations, we are working for the mission. Mission's peace for the well-being of the public, the nation, universe itself. That's why it was my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Raashi, do you want to react on that, or it's? I think.
No, I don't want to react on that. I just, as I think you put it really well, we're looking at people who have no idea and are completely glued out of the space, which is why we intentionally did not reach out to our internet governance community or our ISOC chapter members. We're looking at people who have absolutely no idea about what it is. And like I said, it is for the common people, and I'm not sure if Mr. Sharma knows, but then the analysis is already quite nuanced, and we have worked really hard for almost a year now with kind of developing a framework that is inclusive and makes sense. So I really admire the work that perhaps Dr. Sharma is doing, and he has reached out to us. But as I've mentioned to him as well, that I believe that the PhD scholars would be a really good fit for the stakeholders dialogue. So we'll have to wait a bit longer, and perhaps next May, when we have the stakeholder dialogue, we'll be happy to have the PhD scholars. Also, we also had a good representation for the stakeholder dialogue. We had around, I think, 5 or 10 experts coming in, and we also have a lot of things lined up, which I'm sure you already know about, Antoine. So.
Thank you, Raashi. Thank you, everyone. Is there another question on the engagement of the countries, on the topics, on the process? It's now time to ask them.
Before I disconnect myself, Mr. Antonio, I want to say something. If it is possible, because so far my more than 37 keynote speeches on certain issues related to the internet, isn't it? I wanted to give some sort of, real crux of the technology, that how this internet can create its own successful roadmap. Otherwise, there are, in parallel to the internet, there are several kinds of, networks are, being under development, and definitely they will try to hamper the success of the internet, and internet will not be a internet. It will be just like a intranet or extranet. This will be only controlled by the individual people. Those people who have better wealth power, they can control the whole world by the networks. And that will be the critical kind of challenging scenario in future. And, I
think that's where that's one of the questions we ask in the dialogue, is how you as citizens, what do we want to see as the balance of power? We ask the question of governance, who should take these decisions, and who should be at the table when deciding about the future of internet. So it's definitely for us one of the questions. I see that Thierry, you have asked a question about how we echo the results at national and global level. So that's for us what we call the impact phase of the results. And for that, we work with all the national partners, and each of the partner has what we call a national impact strategy. And we work with them in finding out how they will interact with the stakeholder in their country, with the policymakers in their country, with the private sector in their country, and we do the same at the global level. So our goal is to disseminate the results in a very broad way. And of course, we have the classical go-to places like the Internet Governance Forum. So we will have an open forum at the Internet Governance Forum this year. But we also have many other more bilateral ways of bringing the results to the attention of policymakers. We work with each of the strategic partners. We publish the results, and our goal is to interact for each relevant moment with the policy cycle. For example, on artificial intelligence, there is a strong process next year around the UNESCO, and our goal is, of course, to interact with that and to be in exchange and to bring the results into the discussion around the text that UNESCO is preparing. So this is to answer your question. We plan an impact at global level and an impact at the level of countries.
Please, please include one thing. Those people who are aware with the real crux of the technology, they are kept isolated from the policy making, or those people who understand the policy, they do not want to, include those people who are the technocrats, because the biggest challenge nowadays we are facing in all across the world, the different kind of projects, because, for example, a lawyer, a judiciary, they don't know what's the technological, how the crime will be done. Crime is having a different kind of scenarios. But when a case is pleaded before the judiciary, the case is pleaded by the lawyers, and lawyers are also not aware with the technology. And if they want to, use the third party, that is the technocrat, and technocrats' views may be biased, because if the technocrat is already fixed, then how the technocrat can reveal the truth of the case, which is done over the cyber media. So this is one of the most important thing. One tier is general public, another tier is lawyers, another tier judiciary, and the politics or the technocrats. So these people all should sit together, and the judicious, the proper design of the law and the framework should be taken into consideration. Otherwise, the things will go in such a manner, and always the frameworks or the policies will be defective. In order to make the policies and the frameworks robust, all type of stakeholders should ensure should be there in the participation and the dialogue, as far as my observation and opinion is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. So Raashi, you also have to go.
Let me drop off. I have another call. Thank you so much for the conversations, Antoine, and for the constant support. And we look forward to.
Yeah, good luck for the rest of the dialogues, and to all the other. If you also, Lucien, you said you had 10-15 minutes, and maybe it's time now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I see that there are no more big questions. So thank you, everyone. And for those that are holding a dialogue, tomorrow, good luck for the last preparation. See you on the other side, and have a nice day, evening, and tomorrow too. We will be in touch tomorrow. Maria, indeed, I think we can close the room. Thank you for everyone, and see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Salut Maria.
Oui, coucou Antoine, j'essaye de...
Faut couper.